Shio, welcome to Cherokee Kitchen. Today you're in the kitchen with myself, Robin Callahan, nutrition and fitness coordinator and registered dietitian with Cherokee Choices. So Cherokee Choices is a diabetes prevention program for the Eastern Band of Cherokee Indians Public Health and Human Services Division. Today we are going to be making a white chicken chili and learning about some ways to prevent our risk, lower our risk for type 2 diabetes. So our first step when looking at reducing our risk is to look at our main research with diabetes prevention. So the research has shown that just by doing two things, reducing your weight by 5 to 7% through healthy eating, for most people that's 10 to 15 pounds, and moderate physical activity like walking 150 minutes or more per week can reduce your risk of developing type 2 diabetes by 58%. So we are here to support you on your journey. So as we go through the recipe today, I'm going to highlight a few things that can help improve your health and help you lose weight along the way. So our first step is to start with fresh, quality, nutritious ingredients. And we have gotten all the ingredients today from our local Cherokee Food Lion. So starting in our produce section, we have 1 large yellow onion, your choice of either fresh garlic or minced garlic, cilantro, which is near the parsley and looks very similar, but take a little whiff, it definitely has a stronger smell. And then we have our peppers. So we have our smaller pepper here, which has a lot of heat to it. This is our jalapeno pepper. And then 2 poblano peppers. These are our larger peppers that are very mild. So if you do not have poblano peppers at your grocery store that you shop at, you can also substitute either a red or a green pepper instead. We can use either fresh lime or get our lime concentrate. So if that's something that's a little bit easier for you. Optional ingredients, we have avocado to serve on the side. We can also do some light sour cream, going with the low fat version, cut some calories and also some saturated fat. And then you can also have some tortilla chips crumbled up on the side. It's pretty yummy as well. So throughout the grocery store, we have our low sodium chicken broth. By going with the low sodium version versus the regular version, it cuts our sodium from 900 milligrams to about 600 milligrams per serving, depending on what variety that you get. A rotisserie chicken, some frozen corn. Usually we have vegetable oil and salt in our pantry, and depending on what spices you have, you may need to stock up on some chili powder, ground cumin, and ground coriander. So coriander is actually the seed from cilantro, but it has a very different flavor. For our base of our recipe, we have our organic Great Northern white beans and 2 cans of those. So after we have all of our ingredients and we're ready to go, so we want to always wash our hands. Number 1 way to prevent foodborne illness, and that's already been done today. So now for preparing our recipe, we have 3 main phases. Our first phase is our liquid phase, then our sauteing phase, and then just melding it all together. So for our liquid phase, you have 2 options. You can use a food processor, not my favorite route, or you can just do a potato masher or any kind of slotted heavy spoon to mash 1 can of your beans. This would be rinsed and drained, and then half of your low sodium chicken broth. So we're going to pour about half of this in. It doesn't have to be exact. We're going to end up using all of it together. And then we'll use our masher just to meld everything together. So beans are one of those great ways to add protein and add fiber in our diet. So when we're looking at adding fiber, this is a big key when we're looking at diabetes prevention because it helps slow the rise of your blood sugar in your body to help more stable blood sugars. It also helps with cardiovascular health with that soluble fiber binding to the cholesterol and help carrying that plaque out of our arteries. And then with satiety, that feeling of fullness, it's going to stay in our belly. It's not going to be digested. So it's going to help us feel full a lot longer. If we feel full from our meals, then we're going to tend to eat less. So 3 big keys with fiber, and using beans is a great way to add that in. So when we're using a masher, this doesn't make it quite as smooth as it would with a food processor, but we're also going to have those chunks anyways throughout. So we've mashed all that up, and then we can just put that aside. All right, our next step is to chop our onion and chop our peppers. So for those of you new to an onion, you might notice that tears may run. This is one thing that people hate when they chop onions, me included. So there are a few tricks that you can use. One thing is you can peel back the layers, rinse it with water, and then put it in the freezer. The other option is they say chewing gum might help. I'm not going to do that today. And not cutting near the stem. So if we see here, this is the stem, the root. It holds everything together. So this has got a lot of the enzymes that holds that onion together. And then if we cut those, that's going to release those and bring those tears. So this is the tip. We're going to start with just chopping the tip off, nice sharp knife. And then we're going to cut it all the way down through the middle. Okay. And then peel this outer layer off. So just like a tree, our outer layer of our onion is old and it's not very good. So we're actually going to take that whole layer off. So onions are such a great way to add a lot of flavor without adding any calories or fat or sodium. All right, so here we're going to have the hairy side towards us, and then we'll just do a perpendicular cut, a little bit of an angle. And again, we're not cutting all the way down and we'll turn it around the other way, holding it firmly with the other hand. So we're not cutting it all the way down to the stem. All right, and we're going to turn our onion the opposite way, and you can see we have a nice, beautiful diced onion. And if you miss a few pieces, no big deal. You can always go back and cut those. So totally up to you on how much onion that you want to use. I know this piece at the end is going to bring tears, so I'm going to put this to the side. And then we'll just go through and chop any little pieces here that we've missed. So our onion is ready to go for half an onion, and then we'll do our other half. All right, so same thing on the other half, taking the peeling off, that outer layer. This one's a lot smaller. So keeping that root intact, depending on what, I saw all types of methods. That seemed to be the key with keeping everything together and making it easier to cut. Oh, and the tears are starting to come already. Oh my God. All right, so we're gonna throw our onion in with a tablespoon of vegetable oil, canola oil. You could even probably use some olive oil here if you wanted to, just to get a little bit more of those omega-9 fatty acids that are good to neutralize all that inflammation in our body. So 1 tablespoon of that oil, making sure to get any of the little pieces out. And we'll have our burner on just a medium heat. And separate any of those chunks. All right, so while that is on, we'll let that saute for a minute while we're getting our peppers ready. So when working with peppers, you always want to wear gloves or use some type of a paper towel to make a barrier between you and the pepper. So our jalapeno pepper is one of our hottest peppers. The smaller peppers usually are. So having those gloves are going to help create that barrier, protect our eyes, protect our skin. So we're going to start with cutting off the tip and then cutting off the end. And then we'll go all the way down the midline, cutting our pepper in half, and then the seeds and the membrane will be exposed. So you can use a little melon scoop if you choose. A paring knife works just great. And we're just going to scoop out the seeds and the membrane. So if you like a lot of heat, I like things spicy, you can always add those peppers in, but maybe put them to the side and then taste and then add them in later. So we're going to scoop out the seeds, scoop out the membrane. And then we'll do long strips. And then keep those strips together and just go the opposite direction. If you do wear contacts, make sure to have those contacts out and make sure all of that juice is off your hands before you touch your eyes at all. All right, so long strips. And then we'll turn. So we're starting with the point of our knife down and then pulling it back towards you. All right, so our jalapeno pepper is ready to go. So adding this to our onion. We'll give it a little stir. Yum. All right, and then our poblano. So poblano peppers, same thing. We're going to cut off our top. Always want these washed before. All the way down the middle. And really with these chilies, you can play around with any kind of peppers. You can get poblano peppers canned and already cut up. Or you may just decide to go with that green pepper that's already left over in your house. So we have our long strips. So working with patients over the last 16 years with healthy eating, I've really found that really embracing this new healthy way of eating is key. People get bored of eating that same old bland baked chicken and rice for the 10th time that month. So learning how to use your spices and your peppers and your onions and just add lots of flavor to your food, but without adding that salt and saturated fats and sugars is really key when we're looking at lifelong health. So depending on how much heat you like, feel free to add 2 jalapenos. You could also add that Tabasco or sriracha at the end to give it a little bit more of a kick. So peppers are high in an anti-inflammatory called Caspian. So it's really just great for our whole body with helping to decrease inflammation in our body, and great for sinuses too. So we're gonna add our peppers. All right. Then moving on to the garlic. So if you are tired of chopping by now, you can always add your minced garlic. So here we would need 2 teaspoons of minced garlic. If you would like to chop your own garlic, then you take your whole, we're gonna actually need 4 cloves. So this is a whole, the clove is the actual piece in the garlic. This is a bulb of garlic. So we want to be able to loosen that outer layer. So we'll take our big knife and we're just going to make sure the blade is facing away, and we're just going to smash our garlic. You can probably maybe hear like a little crinkling here. And then enough to where we can pull out a clove. So we have a garlic clove. Then we want to be able to remove those outer layer of the skin there. So we're going to use our knife again. And you can hear a little crunch. So we can take that skin off. All right, so then we'll go the same thing, long direction and then the other way, putting those all together in one straight line. So garlic, especially in the wintertime, is so good for our bodies. It's a great way to add flavor. So that's 1 clove down. And we'll go to our next one. So we want to smash that membrane off. Just loosening it up. So if you're looking for extra support if you know you're at high risk for diabetes. In knowing if you're high risk, number one is that really the key, just that awareness of knowing what the risk factors are. So if you are Native American, you're at higher risk. Another risk factor that's non-controllable is your age. So over age 45 increases your risk for diabetes. Also, if you have had gestational diabetes in the past, this is a risk factor as well. Some more controllable risk factors are if you're inactive, maybe if you need to lose a few pounds. So if you know you do have some risk for diabetes, please contact Cherokee Choices. We have so many services available, and a great program called Cherokee Strong, which is based on the National Diabetes Prevention Program curriculum. So just pulling those membranes off. And you can try, actually, a paring knife may be a little bit better for the chopping piece when you get into those fine pieces. All right, 1 clove to go. So with our diet-wise, as far as looking at ways to reduce your risk for diabetes, we talked a little bit about fiber. Another key way is decreasing any kind of sugary sweetened drinks, especially anything with high fructose corn syrup. So cutting out your soft drinks. But this is also not just soft drinks, but things like your fruit drinks like Fruitopia and things that aren't really real juice. So they add a lot of added sugar without adding any real nutrition. And give you a spike in that blood sugar and can also contribute to fatty liver disease. Two, they don't make you feel full. So that sense of satiety, that sense of fullness is not there. So we may drink 300 calories from some soda, and then we still want to eat that cheeseburger as much as we did before. So replacing that with things like fruit water. Milk is great, going with our low fat, like our 1% or our skim milk. We're going to add that garlic here. We can do our fruit water with carbonated water as long as it doesn't have any kind of sugar added. And really avoiding the artificial sweeteners as well. So coffee is great. Yay, all the research on coffee has been very positive, along with all of our herbal teas or just our regular unsweet tea. Maybe add just a teaspoon or so of just a natural sugar, or maybe a little bit of honey with that too. All right, so sauteing that all together. So our last piece in this is adding our spices. So when we toast our spices, it's going to help bring all the flavors to the surface and make it very aromatic. So it's going to add a lot more flavor. So here we have our cumin, our coriander, and our chili powder. So stirring that all together. And we can let this simmer for a few minutes while we get the rest of our ingredients together. So for our last step, we want to add everything together in either a large stock pot or a crock pot. Today we're going to be using a crock pot. So we have our crock pot, and we'll start with adding our peppers and onion mixture. And we're going to have this turned on high. And then we want to add our liquid base with our beans. And then our additional can of beans. And these are just whole beans already rinsed and drained. Stir these all up. Add 3/4 cup of corn, and this is frozen corn. It can already be defrosted. Half of a teaspoon of salt, just enough to just enhance some of the flavors. And then we want to add our chicken. So we've already torn up our rotisserie chicken into pieces, so you can just do that with big chunks, and then either do it by hand or with a knife and a fork, taking most of the skin away. So we're adding that chicken here, stirring that all up together. And then we want to add the rest of our broth to give it some more liquid. And this is something that you may want to watch, especially if you're using a slow cooker, after around 4 hours or so, just to see if it needs any more liquid, because that liquid may cook down. Also, a great opportunity after the flavors meld to see if it may need a little bit more spice. So the first hour or so, we're gonna have this on high just to really cook things down. And then we can add our cilantro already chopped up, just basic cilantro. We don't usually use those stems. And then we're also gonna add some lime juice from a fresh lime. Now, if you don't have a fresh lime available, or if you just want to make it a little bit easier, completely fine to do our lime concentrate. I always have this and lemon juice in my fridge ready to go, just to add flavor to anything that we need. So with our lime, we'll start with just chopping it in half. We can use a fairly large knife on this. And our key with this is to get all of the juice out of it. Now you can also do lime wedges at the end to help enhance the flavor. So the trick, my little trick for getting lime juice out, is to put it into the microwave for about 10 or 15 seconds. And that's gonna release all those juices from the membrane. And you're gonna get a lot more juice out of your lime. So we're gonna squeeze that lime juice out on both sides. And again, try putting it in the microwave or any kind of heat for about 15 seconds to get all that lime juice. And we're squeezing it in both directions. And it's fine if a little bit of that lime meat, whatever comes out, that's not a problem. All right, we have this all together. If you can always take a little taste, quality control, right? See if you want to add any more spices to that. And then we're going to put the lid on and let it simmer. So our last step is to get any kind of optional side items that you might want to serve your chili with. My favorite is avocado. So this is an excellent monounsaturated fat, so it's a great fat for heart health. So we forget that we need those healthy fats in our body. The big key is because it is a fat, there is 9 calories per gram versus 4 calories per gram in carbohydrate and protein. So we don't want to eat a whole avocado in one serving. So this is more of a garnish. We may eat just about 1/4 of an avocado per serving. So we're going to take our avocado and just cut it in half. And when we're selecting our avocados in the grocery store, you want them to be soft to the touch. So if they're really hard, you want to give them a couple more days to ripen. Now we can use a spoon to scoop out the seed. But then we can save this seed because this is going to be really helpful from keeping your avocado to brown. Whether you're making a different recipe and making guacamole, or you just want to hold it in here after we chop it up. So we're going to use our small paring knife and we're going to go lengthwise and then turn. And from here, you can just turn it inside out and just pop it out into the bowl. So we have little mini chunks. You could also do avocado slices. Some people prefer that. And feel free to lick the skin to get all that yummy avocado off. Okay. So same thing on the other side. So we're just cutting it lengthwise. And then turning. We're not cutting through the skin, but just all the way up next to the skin. And then turning it inside out. And you can just use your fingers to pop it out. Voila. So we are all ready to go. We have everything added to our white bean chicken chili, and we're gonna let those flavors meld. So if you are interested in having this recipe, feel free to email me or call me at 828-359-6785 or tribal email robibail@nc-cherokee.com. So I'm happy to email you the recipe or answer any other questions that you may have on diabetes prevention or health in general. So remember, if you think you are at risk for type 2 diabetes, please go get your blood sugar or A1C checked. It's a simple blood test you can do anytime throughout the day. And if you do have pre-diabetes, know that there are two main things that you can do to reduce that risk of going on to diabetes, just losing that 5 to 7% of your weight through healthy eating, whole grains, fruits and vegetables, lots of fiber, and minimizing that high processed flour and high fructose corn syrup in our sugary drinks, and then adding in 150 minutes or more of moderate physical activity. So do what you enjoy. Especially if you can be outside in nature and make it a relaxing, enjoyable activity as well. Thank you for joining me today in Cherokee Kitchen. On behalf of Cherokee Choices and the EBCI Communications Department, we hope that you enjoyed this segment, and we thank you for working towards making Cherokee a healthier place to live, work, and play. Shki.